Good morning, dear students. Anusri, Asmita, Krishna, Harshal, Pari, Tanvi. So let us practice today this transformation of sentences, which is uh, one of the very important topics of grammar. So let's practice transformation of sentences today. Okay. So let's find out. Let's do it from here. See, as you can see here. Yes. So, dear students, tell me, he liked my suggestions. So, what should be the answer? When I go to convert it into complex sentence, what should be my answer? Tell me. A complex sentence. Complex sentence. You may have forgotten, I think, by this time. But let me remind you: complex sentence means the sentence like he is the person whom I saw in the market yesterday. So here there will be one principal clause, one main clause, right? In a complex sentence, there will be one principal clause and another, subordinate clause. So tell me which one do you think is the complex sentence here in this particular sentence? He liked my suggestion. This is A, this is B, this is C, this is D. Which one you think? He liked my suggestions. Change into complex sentence. He liked what I suggested, or he liked my suggestion. He liked the way I suggested, or none of the above. Which one do you think is the correct answer? So, as I cannot see you here, so let me guess this. Let me tell you the answer. No, I can see you here now, so I can see your answers also. So dear students, have you let me tell you the answer. Okay, so he liked the way I suggested, Anusri said. Akanksha said good. Sorry, so Akanksha, option C. uh, Option C. Okay. So, dear students, he liked what I suggested is the correct answer. He liked what I suggested is the correct answer. Okay, because see, in this sentence there is a principal clause like he liked, and what I suggested is the subordinate clause. Therefore, this is a complex sentence, not the third one. Okay, because in third one you see there is no principal subordinate clause. Like he liked my suggestion is a simple sentence only. It is not a complex sentence. Then he liked the way I suggested is also simple sentence. You need to uh, you see, for a sentence to become a complex sentence, it has to be having a principal clause and a subordinate clause. So principal clause is he liked, and subordinate clause is what I suggested, right? So it should be the first one. Okay, here. Now let's move on to the next question. Okay, so I have to select this one, and then next question. Good morning, Manajay. Good morning, Anusri, Nitya, Palak. A simple sentence can be converted into a complex sentence by expanding a word or phrase into a subordinate clause, okay, which can be a noun clause, an adjective clause, or an adverb clause. Right? It can be a noun clause, an adjective clause, or an adverb clause also. Right? So a simple sentence can be converted into a complex sentence by expanding a word or phrase into a subordinate clause, so which can be a noun clause, an adjective clause, or adverb clause. Yeah, it can be any type of clause, but there should be a clause, a subordinate clause and principal clause. Then only it should be a complex sentence. Now let's move on to the next question. His advice did not prove helpful. His advice did not prove helpful. So change into complex sentence. So once again, first of all, you have to remember the structure of a complex sentence. Which kind of sentence can be called a complex sentence? only then you shall be able to attempt this question. So recall what I have just told you and tell me the answer. Is it number 1, 2, 3 or 4? Tell me. Anusri said 3. What he advised did not prove helpful. Okay. What about the rest of you? Let me check. Please respond me. I am waiting for your answer. His advice did not prove helpful. Change into complex sentence. A complex sentence is a sentence which has two clauses. One is principal clause, which is independent in nature, and which is subordinate clause. Subordinate clause means what, dear students? Subordinate clause means the part of the sentence which is dependent on another part, that is called subordinate clause. Okay, subordinate means something which is dependent, right? So let me tell you, Asmita also said is third, Akanksha also said it is third. Okay, so let me tell you why it is not only third, it is something else also. Why it is not only third, something else also, let me tell you. See here, dear students, it was not helpful is principal clause. What he advised is subordinate clause. So we have got one example of a complex sentence. We have another example of a complex sentence here in number 3. What he advised did not prove helpful. So see, what he advised is subordinate clause, did not prove helpful, principal clause. So here you can see there are two kinds of complex sentence. One is 2, one is 3. Therefore the answer both 2 and 3 should be correct, right? Okay, so we can convert a simple sentence into a complex sentence by adding a connector like what, which, when, how, whom, etc. Okay, now let's move on to the next question. I listened to a melodious singer. I listened to a melodious singer. Change into complex sentence. I listened to a melodious singer. So what is the complex sentence? Batao? I listened to a melodious singer. Change into a complex sentence. So I listened to a singer who was melodious. I listened to a singer singing melodiously, or the singer I listened was melodious. Which one do you think is the example of a complex sentence? Tell me, I'm waiting for your answer. Harshal, Akanksha, Asmita, Manajoy, number 1. Okay, so let us study first. I listened to a singer is principal clause, who was melodious is subordinate clause. Okay, so we have one example of a complex sentence in the very first option itself, right? See, I listen to a singer is a principal clause because it is dependent, not dependent on any part of the sentence. Who was melodious is subordinate clause because who was melodious is dependent on the main part of the sentence, that is singer. Okay, if I just say who was melodious, it doesn't make sense. Okay, that therefore who was melodious is the subordinate clause part, and I listen to a singer itself is making sense, itself is independent, not depending on any part of the sentence. Even if you do not add who was melodious, it is making sense. I listen to a singer. Therefore, that part of a sentence which is independent in nature, does not depend on any other part of the sentence, is called principal clause. So I listen to a singer is principal clause because it is independent in nature, it is not depending on any part of the sentence. Whereas who was melodious is depending on the principal clause, because who was melodious does not make any sense on its own without this part of sentence, I listen to a singer. Therefore it is a subordinate clause. Always remember, subordinate clause has to always depend on the main clause, right? That is, I listen to a singer here. Okay, so dear students, this is one of the examples of the complex sentence, right? Now here you see second. Let us now switch on to the second one. I listen to a singer singing melodiously. So I listen to a singer singing melodiously. In this sentence there is no connector like who, what, when, how. There is no connector. Okay, it's a single sentence. You see, I listen to a singer singing melodiously. Therefore it is not an example of complex sentence. Number one, there is no presence of two clauses here, principal, subordinate. And number two, this sentence is not having a connector, not having any connector like what, when, why, how, right? That is how it is not a complex sentence. Next, the singer I listened was melodious. So in this sentence as well, the singer I listened was melodious is a single sentence. There is no connector also available like what, when, how, okay, why. Therefore it is also not a complex sentence, and none of the above is not true because we have already got one example of a complex sentence. Therefore dear students, number one is the correct answer. So this is how you've got to understand. You've got to give reason for each of the given options, and then finally arrive to a conclusion about the right option. Okay, it is an adjective clause, the clause which describes a noun. Okay, it is an adjective clause. That was the example of an adjective clause. Now let's move on to the next one. I found the lost watch. Change into complex sentence. I found the lost watch. So I found the watch I lost. I found the watch which was lost, or which I lost. The lost watch was found. All the above. So which one do you think should be the example of a complex sentence? Is it I found the watch I lost, or I found the watch which I lost, or the lost watch was found, or all the above? So what kind of a logic can you apply here in finding out the correct option in this question? Let me see your answer first, and then I will explain you. Okay, Pranati and Manager say number two. Okay, let us first examine option number one. I found the watch I lost. This is a single sentence. See, I found the watch I lost is a single sentence without having any principal or main clause. Therefore, it cannot be the complex sentence. Second sentence, let us switch on to I found the watch which I lost. So here, number one, there is a connector which available. There is a connector which available. So if a sentence has to be a complex sentence, it has to have a connector, like it can be which, what, how, when. Okay, so as which is there, a connector is present in this sentence, then there is some possibility that it can be a complex sentence. This is your first preliminary observation actually. Okay, like you have to quickly come to a conclusion, na? So this is the quick method actually. Okay, you see a connected here, immediately you can say okay, it appears to be a complex sentence. But how can you be sure? You can be sure because I found the watch which I lost. There are two parts in this sentence. So I found the watch is principal clause because it is independent, is not depending on which I lost part of the sentence. But which I lost is depending on the principal clause part of the sentence, because if you just say which I lost without adding I found the watch, in that case it is not making sense. Therefore which I lost, it has to depend on the main part of the sentence, that is I found the watch. Therefore it is a complex sentence. Next, the lost watch was found. Here there is no two part, no connected, so it cannot be complex sentence. All the above cannot be the answer. Why? Because there is only one sentence which is the correct answer, which is the complex sentence. Therefore I found the watch which I lost is the correct alternative or correct option. What is the explanation? You see the explanation given here. The clause which describes a noun, here which represents the watch, therefore adjective clause. That was also the example of adjective clause. Okay. Anyway, let's move on to the next. part. Next question, which is one being challenged, they ran away. Simple to complex. You've got to again make it complex sentence. Okay, on being challenged, they ran away. So, what is the complex sentence in the given option? Which one? When they were challenged, they ran away. They ran away after being challenged. They ran away because they were challenged. None of the above. So, which one do you think is the correct answer? Which one do you think is the correct answer? Is it number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4? See, this is number 1, this is number 2, this is number 3, this is number 4. Akanksha Srivastav says this is the correct answer. According to Akanksha, Manajay, you said this is the correct answer, number 3. Okay, so there is a it is a slightly different, dear students. It's slightly different and slightly difficult from the rest of the questions that we have come across so far. Why I'm telling you, it is difficult because see, whenever I mentioned you about connector, did I mention because in my explanation of the connector, did I ever mention because? No, I did not mention about the connector because while giving you instances about the connectors of the complex sentence, right? So as I did not mention about because being one of the connectors, therefore option 3 can straightaway be ruled out. Okay, so this option shall be struck off, or this option is ruled out. This cannot be the answer. So let us start from then let us switch on to another option, that is number 1. When they were challenged, they ran away. Here they ran away is principal clause, when they were challenged is subordinate clause, because when they were challenged is depending on they ran away. Understood? Therefore, always remember that here there are two clauses, principal clauses they ran away and subordinate clauses when they were challenged, and the connected is also there, like when is the connected here, right? So this appears to be a complex sentence. When we move on to the second one, you see they ran away after being challenged. So they ran away after being challenged can also not be the complex sentence. Why? Because here there is no connector, which I have mentioned, number 1, and here it is a single sentence. There is no two part of a sentence. How do you understand the single sentence? Because they ran away after being challenged. Simple sentence, simple single sentence. But if you study this sentence, when they were challenged, comma, they ran away, it consists of two parts. So whichever sentences you shall find to be composed of two parts, these sentences are called complex sentence. And another sort of checklist you have to depend on, which is the connector. Connector is also one of the most important clues for identifying a complex sentence. So connector here is when. Okay, always remember, if there is connector like what, when, how, whom, who, then these sentences can be called a complex sentence. Okay, so please do remember. Now let's move on to the next question. Okay, next question. Very quickly we are moving on to the next question. It is adverb clauses. So noun clause, adjective clause, adverb clause we shall study later on. It is not in our syllabus, that is why I am not explaining much about this. I'm explaining only simple, complex, and compound sentence. Now, you see, although I did not like the food, I ate everything served to me. Simple to compound. Now we have switched over to the compound sentence. So tell me, what is the example of a compound sentence? Although I did not like the food, I ate everything served to me. Although I did not like the food, I ate everything served to me. So, compound sentence. I did not like the food, but I ate everything served to me. In spite of not liking the food, I ate everything served to me. I ate everything served to me, even though I did not like the food. So, dear students, always remember, compound sentence has also two parts, but unlike complex sentence, in a compound sentence, you shall find two perfectly independent clauses or independent sentences. For example, you see here, I did not like the food is completely independent. See, I did not like the food. If you say, I did not like the food, it is complete in itself. Once again, um, you see, I ate everything served to me. That is also complete in itself. It means both the sentences are complete in itself, right? So, always remember, that is one of the conditions, okay, that unlike complex sentence, in a compound sentence there is a connector, of course, but if we leave out the connector, we shall, besides the connector, we have two independent sentences, okay, and the connector should be either and or but or so or therefore, all this, okay. Examples, see, the connectors here have changed. Complex sentence connectors are different, compound sentence connectors are different. Connectors are and, but, so, therefore, moreover, however. These are the connectors for compound sentence, okay. So, dear students, number one appears to be a correct option. Let's study the second option. In spite of not liking the food, there is no connector, and there is no two part. There is two part, but both, one part is dependent on the other. Like, in spite of not liking the food is a subordinate clause which is dependent on I ate everything served to me. So in this example, you can see I ate everything served to me is independent by nature, whereas in spite of not liking the food is not independent by nature. It means it depends on the second part of the sentence. So as in spite of not liking the food depends on the second part of the sentence, therefore it cannot be a compound sentence, because in a compound sentence both the parts have to be independent in nature. It means both the parts of the sentence have to make a sense of their own, a complete sense of their own, right? So as it is not fulfilling this condition, therefore we can rule out option 2 as the correct answer, right? Next, I ate everything served to me even though I did not like the food. See, here also there are two parts, I ate everything served to me and even though I did not like the food. So in this two parts, one part, that is I ate everything served to me, is independent in nature. Independent in nature means it is not depending on any part of the sentence, but even though I did not like the food is depending on the first part, so it is also not fulfilling the criteria of a compound sentence, which is two different independent sentences. Here there is only one independent sentence and second one is dependent sentence. That is why we can rule out number C also as the option. None of the above cannot be the answer, as we have already got one as the answer, okay, one of the options as our answer. Therefore none of the above cannot be correct. That is why, dear students, we shall go with the number one option, right? So compound sentences are also include structure like so, that, and, but, etc. So that also can be there as a connector, okay, and, but, then, therefore, as I told you, right? So dear students, this is how we have to analyze the options very carefully with logic, with reasoning. Okay, because grammar is all about logic. If you do not apply logic, then your answers may be incorrect. Understood? So please do remember the properties of characteristics of simple sentence and complex sentence and compound sentence that I have explained to you, right? Only then you can work out these questions very correctly. Okay. Now next one. Ravi admitted his guilt. Ravi admitted his guilt. Ravi admitted that he was guilty. Ravi's guilt was admitted by him. Ravi admitted being guilty, all the above. So, actually, in this sentence, there is no answer given. I mean, question given, answer is given, but question is not given. Ravi admitted his guilt. So, what do you think should be the thing? It should be Ravi. I think, let me just think once. The question should be, I think, um, say, okay, so it is not an example of compound sentence because none of the sentence options given above or given in the question, is compound sentence. So you make it simple. You have to find out the simple sentence from the given alternatives. Okay, simple sentence. But Ravi admitted his guilt is simple sentence itself, right? So you find out. Mm, Okay, ठीक है, no matter. So Ravi admitted his guilt is simple sentence, right? You find out the example of a complex sentence. First, you find out the example of a complex sentence. So Ravi admitted his guilt, which is the complex sentence uh, out of the four options given. First, you tell me which is the complex sentence out of the four given. So Ravi admitted that he was guilty, right? Connector, that, which, when, what. So that is there as a connector. So it is the quickest way to arrive at the conclusion that it can be a complex sentence, right? Because that as a connector is used here. And secondly, we shall check Ravi admitted his principal clause, that he was guilty is subordinate clause. So that he was guilty is depending on Ravi admitted. Therefore, that he was guilty is subordinate clause. Ravi admitted his principal clause. Therefore, it is the example of a complex sentence, right? Very good, Asmita. It is example of complex sentence. Now, second example, Ravi's guilt was admitted by him. Tell me, what kind of a sentence is it? It is simple sentence, complex sentence, or compound sentence. Ravi's guilt was admitted by him. Ravi's guilt was admitted by him is the example of complex, simple, or compound sentence. Ravi's guilt was admitted by him. Is it a simple sentence, complex sentence, or compound sentence? Tell me quickly. Ravi's guilt was admitted by him. Is it the example of a simple, complex, or a compound sentence? As there is no response from your end, let me tell you. So, dear students, Ravi's guilt was admitted by him is the example of a simple sentence because he said it is having only one subject and one finite verb. One verb we can say. Ravi's guilt was admitted. Okay, one verb, one subject. Therefore, and single sentence. Therefore, simple is the example of simple sentence, right? Then Ravi admitted being guilty. Ravi admitted being guilty. It is also simple sentence because it is because there is only one subject and one verb. So if there is a one subject and one verb, then always remember it is a simple sentence, right? Now let's move on to the next one. Okay. Noun clause is connected after the verb by words like that, which, how. Okay. Next, a simple sentence has dash finite verbs. One finite verb, two finite verbs, three finite verbs, no finite verb. A simple sentence has how many finite verbs, you tell me? Is it having one, two, three, four? One, two, three, four. Which one do you think? So a simple sentence has only one finite verb, dear students. Okay, only one finite verb. When a verb is directly connected to its subject, it is called finite verb. Directly connected to its subject, it is called finite verb. For example, I saw him yesterday. So is finite verb because it is directly after the subject, right? But if it is, say for example, another example, this is the man whom I saw yesterday. Okay, so, or you can say this is the man who is responsible. So is, first is the finite verb because it is connected with this, not the second is. Okay, so finite verb is directly connected to its subject. Okay, so now let's move on to another one. A complex sentence has dash main clause and dash subordinate clause. A complex sentence has one main clause, one subordinate clause, or one main clause, two subordinate clause, 2 2 or 2 1. Which one do you think? A complex sentence has one main clause and one subordinate clause, or 1 2. uh, 1 1. Asmita, thank you so much, it's absolutely correct. Yes, 1 1. A complex sentence has one main clause and one subordinate clause, right? Absolutely correct. A compound sentence has dash or dash coordinate clauses. A compound sentence has dash or dash coordinate clauses. A compound, okay, dear students, let me tell you, like suppose I like this man because he is honest. So this is also an example of compound sentence. Why? Because I love this man is independent in itself. He is honest is also independent in itself, right? Okay, so both these sentences are independent. So this, a compound sentence has uh, at least two independent sentence. So these independent sentences are called coordinate clause. Always remember, these independent sentences are called coordinate clauses. Like as I said, I like this man because he is honest. So I like this man, he is honest, are the examples of coordinate clauses. Okay, so a compound sentence has one or more coordinate clauses, right? So this, sorry, two or more, it has got, a compound sentence has two or more coordinate clauses. Coordinate clauses are independent clauses and convey, excuse me students. A compound sentence has two or more coordinate clauses, dear students. Two or clauses. So coordinate clauses are independent clauses and convey complete meanings by themselves. Two or more coordinate clauses. Yes, not one or more. Why? Because I tell you, like I like this man because he is honest. So at least two coordinate clauses are there in this sentence. Therefore, a compound sentence has two or more coordinate clauses. Right? Next, it's over. So we have made one mistake, that is why 90. Otherwise, we have played very well. Okay, thank you, dear students, for staying connected. And as I told you before, also, if you have any doubt in any of the lessons from the syllabus, you please let me know so that I can explain you in my live plus once again, right? So if you have any doubt or if you think any of the lessons in your syllabus appears to be a bit difficult for you to understand, please do let me know. I shall explain you once again. Till we meet on Monday once again. Bye bye, take care, and have a nice time.